Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and this is another edition of Viewpoint, your favorite program here on DBS television. Tonight we are talking economic issues, and we would be having an entrepreneur who is on the line to Dubai to talk to us about economic challenges Cameroon is going through and possible ways the government of Cameroon can salvage the economic, the economic ecosystem of the country. Tonight we would still continue in the same manner like we started yesterday, sitting in for Nde Vanessa Shuyong, who is unavoidably absent. We would go straight away to welcome our guest who is on the line to Dubai. Good evening, Boris.
Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Mr. Venatius. I'm grateful to be on board to talk about things that has to do with our beloved country. I'm grateful.
Thank you, Boris. Like I said at the beginning, we would maintain the format of the program like we did yesterday, and we would begin straight away with part one of the program that has to do with the questions and the answers. Let us take the questions. If you are just joining us, this is Viewpoint on DBS television. We take the questions. Boris, I am with you. We begin question one, which is, are there some entrepreneurial challenges in Cameroon, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic period?
Wow. In regards to that question, I would wish to, first of all, once it concerns Cameroon, as we all know, Cameroon, the economic and human and cultural diversity. Cameroon is known as Africa's miniature. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, Cameroon is an amazing country in as much as entrepreneurship is concerned. And yes, of course, there are some very, very big challenges which entrepreneurs do face in Cameroon, especially during this COVID, the pandemic, season that really, affected the whole world. No one would play holy on it. It has affected the whole world. I mean, like the whole world. So it has affected entrepreneurs as well. There are so many startups that closed down, and there's people that are struggling financially because of the restrictions, because of the things that they are facing from day to day, from their day-to-day life. So there are some day-to-day challenges that entrepreneurs in Kenya are facing. And in regards to the question, I would say they are facing which I would want to quote the situation of structural and policy system. I would want to say there is it's a day-to-day challenge that each and every Cameroonian entrepreneur is facing. There is a problem with a structural problem and a policy problem. The structural problem has to do with having a structure, a system in place that address things that has to do with entrepreneurs. And policy has to do with the government policies. As each and every entrepreneur out there will tell you that government policies on tax payment is on tax payment process is quite alarming, and it's been like a roadblocks to so many entrepreneurs out there. So there is a problem of tax which needs to be addressed. There is a problem of appropriate workspace which needs to be addressed. There's a problem of support service which needs to appropriate support service to be addressed. And like I said, government policies, all of these things need to be addressed. And when you look at the policies, it does not favor small startups because normally there should be some of exoneration, tax exoneration for entrepreneurs, especially startups. But when you look critically, you will see that the time frame that the government had given for tax exoneration is really very small. A period within a time frame of like 1 year, it's quite very small. And I believe that, you know, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yes, Boris, yes. Yes, if you are with me, yes, I was saying that we finish, that is part one. We finish the questions, then we go to part two where you would explain more on this. So please, we return that on part one. You say there are some, yes, we return that you say there are some entrepreneurial challenges in Cameroon, especially during this period. Now we take the second question, which is there something the government can do to improve Cameroonian entrepreneurial ecosystem? Yes or no?
Yes, there's a whole lot that the government has to do in order to improve the, you know, the ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Cameroon. There's a whole lot for the government to do.
Good. Thank you, Boris. Now we'll take part two, and in part two, you would then explain to us. We'll begin with question one, the entrepreneurial challenges, and then you will come back in question two, and you will tell us. So let's take part two of the discussion. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You are still on Viewpoint, and we take part two of our discussion. We remind you that Viewpoint is live on Facebook, the page like you have on your screen. Boris, I am with you. We are going back to find out these entrepreneurial challenges that Cameroon is going through, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. What are these challenges?
Yes, Mr. Venatius, in regards to the challenges, day-to-day challenges that entrepreneurs do face in Cameroon, there is a lot of challenges that entrepreneurs are facing in Cameroon, irrespective of the COVID, which COVID actually came and, you know, made things worse, a bit more difficult. But in regards to that, entrepreneurs in Cameroon have been facing a whole lot in the previous years, which I would really wish to start with the issue of the tax payment, with tax payment system, the tax processing system in Cameroon. The tax in Cameroon is actually a big problem to startups, to entrepreneurs in Cameroon, because if you would do visibility studies to interview or to find out from each and every entrepreneur that starts a business in Cameroon, they will tell you tax first. Tax is a problem to them. So that exoneration tax period that had been given to Cameroonians, to entrepreneurs, to those that are starting some SME, small and medium-sized enterprises, that period of time is not enough. The period of time is actually, just the period of 1 year, which is not enough. I think that's a problem to address. And there's a problem of appropriate workspace. Here I'm referring to maybe a shop, maybe an office, maybe a business place. It's quite expensive to, for an entrepreneur to, pay the rents and all of that. So those are the challenges that they face, day-to-day challenges that they face. They also face a problem of appropriate support service. When I'm talking about support service here, I'm referring to services from the government that support entrepreneurs, that acknowledge that entrepreneurs are going through financial challenges, they're going through physical challenges that ought to be addressed. And like in other countries are doing that. Like in Ghana, I was in Ghana recently, and I'm really impressed by what they're doing. By saying this, I'm not saying the government in Cameroon has not been doing well. They have been doing a great deal of work. But I'm just saying that as days pass by, we need to upgrade. So these are some of the problems that I can identify so far that entrepreneurs in Cameroon, they are facing. They're also facing problems with professional networking. Professional networking is a problem. Professional networking in the sense that, you know, someone has to link up to the right market. Professional networking, linking up to the right market, having the right product, linking up to the right market. That's a problem right there. So there's a lack of professional networking. There's a lack of good government policies that protects, that safeguard entrepreneurs. So, and the entrepreneurs in Cameroon also have a problem of the educational institutions, lack of good educational institutions. You bear with me that people who graduate from universities, they end up being jobless. They end up being, you know, hopping into the streets and doing all sort of menial jobs here and there because there is no proper education on entrepreneurship in our universities, in our college. But places like, again, I will quote Ghana, they have entrepreneurial, you know, studies right at the university levels. That's to empower their entrepreneurs. That's to empower those university graduates. That somebody is graduating from a university is already knows what he wants, already knows what she wants. You know, they have a direction. They're already involved in the entrepreneurial field, and they are ready to do something. They are ready to start something. They are ready to enforce a change that must be. So these are some of the problems that our educational systems, our educational institutions not been addressing in the years past. You can bear with me that these are some of the problems, day-to-day challenges. They also have day-to-day challenges like in regards to professional managerial people with professional managerial backgrounds. We also have problems in that regard.
But then let us take the issue of these ideas that you have indicated. We're talking of the tax system, the rent, we're talking of the support services, the professional networking that is lacking, and the educational, you know, institution that we lack as well. How do they affect the growth of business in Cameroon?
Well, in as much as growth is concerned, all of these in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, all of these components has a lot to do. All of these segments has their bits to, you know, contribute to the growth of the economy, the economical growth, and you know, for a better society, a better community. Lack of education in entrepreneurship leads to mistakes, because there are so many entrepreneurs out there. I want us to address the issue of lack of education in entrepreneurship. Education is very fundamental. Being educated, I don't mean going to a university or having a certificate. What I mean is to have basic knowledge, basic business knowledge. That matters so much. So someone who graduates from a university without understanding basic fundamentals in business won't do well. And when we are talking about entrepreneurship, we are talking about problem solvers, people who identify problems and solve them and bring a solution to that problem. So when we're talking about entrepreneurship, again, I will repeat that word, we're talking about problem solvers, those who identify a problem and solve that problem and bring a solution to that problem. And so when someone is not educated, when someone is not schooled, when someone is not educated in that aspect, they have little to offer. They have very little to offer. So that's the reason why someone who is a graduate is not necessarily can necessarily be a successful entrepreneur. It's not about having a certificate. It's not about going to the university. I'm talking about institutions that will give someone basic principles, basic fundamentals about business in the business world that will assist that person to start seeing things from a different perspective, that will assist that entrepreneur to start seeing things clearly from a different perspective, not just looking at the problem, but looking at the problem with the eyes of a solution. That's basically what entrepreneurs are. So to me, having business incubators, having accelerators, startup hubs, those are facilitators. Those are things that facilitate. Those are things that really help entrepreneurs to, boost their morale. They have a vision. Somebody might have a very good vision. He has a very good vision, but the picture is not very clear. He needs someone. He needs a mentor. She needs a mentor. They need someone to mentor them. When you look around Cameroon, it's not like we don't have incubators. It's not like we don't have startup hubs. It's not like we don't have accelerators. We do have. How effective? I'm not here to question their effectiveness, but I'm just saying, how effective are these incubators? How effective are these accelerators? So when you look at it in a critical term, I would say entrepreneurship in Cameroon. Strange word. It's a strange word.
Boris, thank you. Like you are saying, the problem of education is not necessarily going through high studies to be able to manage any business. We've had cases in Cameroon of people like Kaji de Fosso of late. We've had people like recently Pascal Monkam. These are not people who were well educated as such, but they have been able to maintain very successful business, enterprises that could withstand the challenges, even challenging those who have gone to school. Boris, we take the second question, where you say that there are so many ways the government can come in to improve the business ecosystem in Cameroon. That would be our second question. What are these ways so that people with business mind listening to us may be able, and the government as well, may be able to come to the assistance of the business class in the country?
Thank you very much for that question, Mr. Venantius. I'm really grateful. First of all, the government has been doing a lot. I would want to say the government has been a lot. Pay my research. I've done a couple of research in the days past that the government has been doing a whole lot in regards to, having a better ecosystem for entrepreneurship in Cameroon in order to, enable a business-conscious environment. But, it's not enough until we do better. So I think the government has to address the issue of workspaces, because when you look at entrepreneurship in Cameroon, workspaces are like a very big problem. Anybody in Bamenda, in Douala, in Boya that is out there listening to me, they will bear witness that even beginning from the councils, they are building all these small shops, and the tax that they put. When I say the task, I'm not talking about the government task. I'm talking about the rents. So they would put a 12-month rent together for an entrepreneur that is just starting up a business. Not really necessarily a businessman that is starting up something. You can imagine, they put a 12 months rent together. That person has to pay, let's say, maybe in a commercial area, they have to pay over 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million francs CFA. That is already a capital. That's already a capital. So appropriate workspaces has to be provided by the government. And they are already doing that. We are grateful they are doing that. But they are taking too much from the startups. They are squeezing too much from the startups. So when you look at it, there is a lack, there's a problem, that is lack of appropriate spaces. at affordable rates, lack of occupied spaces at affordable rates, because they occupy spaces, but they are not at affordable rates. So what do you expect for somebody who has just 2 million to pay 1.2 and then start a business with 800,000? Meaning that almost like more than 50% of his capital had been swallowed already by rents. That is not fair enough. So government has to address that issue, and government has to address the issue of policies. There are some policies that don't favor entrepreneurs, both nationally and internationally. There are some entrepreneurs that want to do some things in Cameroon, and the climate is not very favorable for them. And there are some entrepreneurs in Cameroon that want to do something out of Cameroon. They want to do imports. They want to import some things into the country. They want to solve a problem. They want to do something. But the policies, government policies, is not favorable to somebody who is, for instance, providing products. Somebody who has products. He wants a license for that product. He wants a license for that product. Just to get the license for that product, the process they will go through, that process they will undergo, will either discourage them or break down, that passion, that courage that they had. So because of that, the government policies are, I would want to say, not very favorable for entrepreneurs. Government has to see into that, to see that someone who is providing products, someone who is processing something, maybe food, processing something, maybe these beddings, maybe somebody is processing a soap somewhere, somebody is doing something. They should have to encourage them by bringing out some policies that really favor them. For instance, like I quoted the part of license to their products. How about somebody in services? Somebody who is developing something somewhere and is providing services like apps, like phone apps, and all of these things. Their policies have to, guide entrepreneurs, has to protect entrepreneurs, protect the interests of entrepreneurs, so that they can be productive, so that they can scale, so that they can grow, so that they can launch, they can scale, and they can grow. That's how I believe the government can intervene in solving some of these challenges that entrepreneurs face from day to day in Cameroon.
Thank you, Boris. For time constraint, we would have to put an end to our discussion here. But in less than 30 seconds, Boris, tell us, would these challenges, are they able to discourage young Cameroonians from trying their hands into business? In less than 30 seconds, please.
When it comes to business, I want to believe that it won't discourage them, because business is all about a personal decision. It's all about being disciplined. It's all about being determined. So nothing should discourage anyone out there because of the tax, because of the stuff that they're facing, the tax, the workspaces that is too expensive. All of these things shouldn't discourage anybody. Hold on to your decision and be determined enough to make a change. Be determined enough to enforce a change. That must be, because if not you, who will do it? Who will do it? Put it upon yourself and enforce a change. That must be, as an entrepreneur, there is no giving up. There is no giving up.
As an entrepreneur, there is no giving up. It all has to do with personal decision. It all has to do with discipline, and it all has to do with determination. These are the words that we are taking as a take-home message for tonight's edition of our program. It is here we come to the end of today's edition. Thank you to our technical team for putting all in place so that today's edition of the program could be successful. Immediately after this, it would be the prime time news with Cynthia Gwemo. Until we meet again tomorrow, have a blessed evening. Goodbye.